Hey, Bills Mafia. We know there's only one topic every day. All Bills, all the time. And now Matt Bovee and Sal Capaccio are going really deep, talking Bills all year long, because it's always game day in Buffalo.
All right, 30-13. If you told me the final score of a Bills-Dolphins game, of the game before it happened on Sunday, was 30-13, it was going to be 30-13, I would have said, oh yeah, Bills are going to crush the Dolphins, walk away, go home, 30-13, get ready for the Buccaneers, 7-2. I'd even go so far as to say is, if you told me the Dolphins would be up 13-0 and the final score would be 30-13, I might still tell you, oh yeah, that means the Bills are coming back and scoring 30 points. Not the case. Other way around. 30 for Miami, 13 for Buffalo. Always game day in Buffalo. Sal Capaccio with you. Apologies for not getting a immediate post game. Matt is in Florida, but he wasn't at the game. He's actually on a little vacation with his family in Florida, so we weren't able to do it. And then I came right back on the team charter right after the game. Got in a little bit later last night, so I wanted to collect my thoughts and be able to do it today. And holy cow, left Miami at 80-something degrees and walked as if it's like you have this terrible, massive, horrible loss, and you walk off the plane and it's just the snow is hitting you in the cold. It just makes it even worse. And I didn't even have a winter jacket with me, right? I mean, what did I bring? I brought I had a blazer, but then the walk to the car, just everything just spiraled yesterday. It started early in the day with the Bills and Dolphins basically right after the first drive. Kind of. We're going to get into that here on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. Listen, I don't want to be too long here. What I'm going to do is I just want everybody to know if you're watching, some of you are listening, some of you are watching. If you're watching, I'm in one of our Odyssey studios here in Buffalo. It is 9 a.m. before I do my extra point show on WGR Sports Radio 550. That's a reaction show where every Monday, win or lose, I just 2 hours of phone calls and people are going to call. And oh my God, everybody, how many texts did I receive last night about, oh my God, the callers are going to be what they're going to be like on your show. And hey, that's part of the deal. It's part of the job. It's why I'm here. And I'll be taking those calls. So if you, if you are a caller, if you've never called the reaction show, like you should do that sometime and have your say, because what we do is here, we give our say, and I'll do a little bit of that. But that's why today, doing this right now, and I'm not going to stay too long with you here, but I'm just going to walk through a few things about my thoughts on the game. 30-13. Thanks a lot for downloading, subscribing, as always, at Sal Sports on YouTube, at Sal Sports on X, at Matt_Bove on X as well. Make sure you follow us, and you'll see exactly where you can download, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate that. Headed towards 15,000 subscribers on YouTube, so let's get there. Thank you very much at Sal Sports. Okay. So I think the blueprint is kind of out on the Bills offense. And to me, this game really falls more on the offensive side. It's never one thing is to totally blame, right? I think we all know that. It's never one thing is to totally praise when you win. I mean, the defense had its struggles, the defense tackling issues again. At the end of the game, they gave up long runs, right? But I think the defense is in that position because of what the offense didn't do really in this game. And to me, the blueprint is kind of out on the Dolphins, on the Bills, excuse me, for what the Dolphins did and what teams are going to do against the Bills going forward. All right. And I'm going to give an example of this right away. I have the game book in front of me. Now, again, some of you are listening, you're not watching. This is called the game book. Afterwards, in the media, you can get this anywhere, public too, but we get a game book, has all the stats, everything you need about the game, all the stats, what we go off of to find the stats, play-by-play, everything. Has the starting lineups. I know this sounds weird, but I'm going to show you the Dolphins starting lineup, okay? Dolphins defense. I'm going to put this on the screen right here. Here's the defense. All right, Miami Dolphins defense. If you notice, right there, they had 3 linebackers. Look right over here. I'm sorry, it's on the camera here. So there are 3 linebackers over here. All right. They started in base defense. 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers. That's called base. They did not go nickel, whereas the Bills usually run a nickel defense. In fact, you take a look at the Bills and the difference, look at their defense. Cam Lewis is the starting nickel. Normally it's, Taron Johnson. The reason I show you this is an indication that the Dolphins basically came into the game and said, we're just going to put an extra linebacker on the field, not a defensive back. We're going to stop the run game and dare you to beat us in the pass game. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. You have Josh Allen as your MVP, as your quarterback. He's the league MVP, one of the best players in the game. I mean, in what world would we ever think that a defensive coordinator from an opponent would say, I'm going to force Josh Allen to beat me? And it's not about Josh, really, right? Yeah, he's had his struggles. We can talk about that. It's really just the passing game as a whole. It's really the wide receivers. It's the lack of separation. All the wide receivers the Bills have kind of unique skill sets that are good in their own right. But I think what we've seen here is the fact that they can't really get open on their own enough, especially down the field, mid-range, right? And what the Dolphins did was say, we know that. And even though we have a depleted secondary, no Rasul Douglas, and we're going to start guys named Brents and Jones, Trader, and Minka Fitzpatrick, right? I mean, these are the guys. They're going to shut your passing game down. We're going to go one-on-one, man-to-man, put an extra linebacker in the field, and you're not going to run the ball with James Cook. So the Bills, basically, the best run team in the NFL coming into the game against the Miami Dolphins, one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL coming into the game, couldn't run the ball because Miami said, we're going to focus everything we have on your run game. I'm just going to go to the defensive stats real quick because I think that tells another story here. So defensive stats, Jordan Brooks, okay? Jordan Brooks was the game high tackler in this game. All right? Jordan Brooks, linebacker. Very good. Watch him play. Downhill all the time. Downhill. No threat. I mean, even in play action, didn't matter. They said, we are just stopping James Cook. Now, again, this is just a larger point I'm trying to make of the Bills didn't have an answer once the Dolphins said, we are shutting down James Cook and shutting down your run game. Every tackle seemed to be made or contact near the line of scrimmage. Every once in a while, James Cook might make a jump cut, bust one out for a few yards, nice gain. But the Bills, because they could not run the ball effectively, put themselves in terrible third down situations, and then converted 33% of their third downs and couldn't stay on the field. So what did the Dolphins do then? They have a quick game. They get the ball out to their wide receivers. They make a little bit of hay in the run game as the game's going on, convert some third downs, and keep the Bills' defense on the field for a long, long time. They get gassed. And that's not complimentary football, right? I know I don't want to sound cliche, but that's not complimentary football. The offense can't sustain drives, so therefore the defense is on the field too long. They get gassed, and that just compounds it because the defense is still out there all the time. But the larger issue is here what the Dolphins did against the Bills offense and how now I believe teams are going to do this going forward. So who does that fall on? You know, I'm going to say this on the radio when I do my show in a little while. I said it this morning when I was on with Jeremy at 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. I'm all for, putting blame on Joe Brady. Of course, he's the offensive coordinator, right? I mean, that's his job to help put his guys in better position. No doubt about it. But folks, I mean, think about it, from a standpoint of, I wanted to use an analogy. Like I am terrible at drawing. I am a terrible artist. I cannot draw whatsoever. I literally draw stick figures. Like if you want to see the worst artist in the world, that might be me. So I draw stick figures. You could bring in the greatest art teacher in the world to work with me on a weekly, daily basis. I don't know if it's going to help much. Maybe I'll get a little better. I don't think so. Like you can only work with the tools in your toolbox, right? You can only get, and in this case, it's not even the tools in the toolbox. It's the talent that they have. So I'm not absolving Joe Brady of blame, but I don't know what Joe Brady can do with wide receivers who just can't do that. You can say scheme. Well, the other team has scheming against you to say, you're not going to do this against us. So I'm not absolving him. He's got to figure out a way. I get that. Whether that's personnel, whether that's play design, whatever. But they don't really have the players to be able to put themselves in that position to help their MVP quarterback. They have a great quarterback, Josh Allen. And he's back there right now, not finding anybody open. And then there are times where There are guys open. He's not pulling the trigger. I mean, it's not like they're open way downfield, but 3-4 yards off the line. And I get it. Josh is like, I'm not taking that. That's a 2-yard gain. I want something more. And he doesn't have to, maybe he should take a little bit more of those. I get it. But those are also just kind of nothing plays. There was a screenshot floating around where Keon Coleman was open. Oh my God, why didn't he throw it? I'm like, well, he's 2 yards off the line and there's two linebackers ready to tackle him as soon as he catches it, right? If you're Josh, you're like, I'm not throwing it there. So I think there's a lot of blame, if you want to use that word, go around here. There's a lot that's happening, but I don't know what the fix is now because you're past the trade deadline. I mean, Gabe Davis coming in is not the savior, but maybe he can help a little bit. I don't know. Is there somebody walking on the streets that doesn't have a job? Josh Palmer getting healthy will help a little bit, but now you have Dalton Kincaid out. I mean, Dalton Kincaid goes out with just clicked on this on the TV side. You saw on the video side, you saw me click the wrong button there, and my head was in two boxes. Dalton Kincaid has a hamstring injury. He leaves the game. Probably going to keep him out, probably at least a game. I mean, generally that's the case with hamstring injuries, soft tissue injuries, at least a game. We've seen that with Shaq Thompson for a couple of games now at linebacker and others. He's your only guy that's really kind of creating a mismatch and getting some separation. So you're compounding the issue by having the one guy you rely on, and maybe the two guys with Josh Palmer who aren't even playing right now or can't get on the field because of injuries together. I mean, you lose one, you gain another, you gain one, you lose another, I don't know what the answer is. Sean McDermott, interestingly enough, was asked in the locker room after the game. He was asked and said, I think Jay Skursky of the Buffalo News said to him that Brandon Beane said this is a championship roster. He believes it is post-trade deadline. Do you agree with that? He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. But he didn't say yes. Pretty easy to say yes. You know what he said? He said, I love these guys in this locker room. I love them. That's not a answer that says, I believe we have a championship roster. I mean, is he saying I don't have what I need, what this team needs to win a championship? I mean, I think whenever you have Josh Allen, I mean, the Bills still have a good roster. It's depleted because of injuries in a lot of respects. I get it. It's not that much removed from the roster that just beat the Kansas City Chiefs at home, right? It's a week-to-week league. We know that. We say it all the time. They can go and run off 5-6 straight, but it's going to be hard. It's a grind every time. That's the thing about it. It's like they're not able to just go out there and beat teams from the jump like kind of Miami did. And that's a second point of this issue I want to bring up, which is this roster, this team is not able to play from behind and chase a game. I will use Sean McDermott's wording there and phrasing, and I agree with him 100%. They can't chase the game. They had to chase it here. When they're down 13 points early, and they have to kind of start figuring out, we need urgency. We need to move the ball down the field and score. That's not how they're built. They're built to control the game, play from in front, control the game, even play at a kind of neutral rate, basically, kind of like they did against Kansas City a little bit. They were in control. Against Kansas City, the Bills were kind of in control the whole game. Now, the Chiefs came down. I think they tied up, if I remember right. It might have been 7-7. The point is, never felt like the Bills weren't in control of that game. There was never a point where they had to kind of start going, okay, what do we need? We need to answer the passing game. We need to start moving the ball. And yeah, the run game's nice, but if it starts to get a little square, yeah, we got to have a little bit more urgency in the passing game. When you're in the lead, when you are tied, you control the game more. You can dictate terms. The Bills couldn't dictate terms in this game. But the larger issue is they need to dictate terms to teams. And when they're behind like that, they can't do that. And they don't have, and I still think it's crazy to say out loud, they don't have the kind of offense to do that with Josh Allen at quarterback. And Josh isn't the problem, although he hasn't played that great, right? We know that. He had some nice numbers in this game, 70%, 310 yards. He threw the interception, he had the fumble, and those are non-negotiable. You can't do that. He said he was trying to hit the, I think it might have been Shavers in the back of the end zone on the interception. I think it was credited to a target to Knox because he was close. he wasn't trying to go to Dawson Knox, trying to go to the back of the end zone. He said he couldn't step into the throw and he short-armed it. That's why it was picked. And then the fumble, you got to hold on to the ball. Guys are punching at it. James Cook fumble. Guys are punching at it. Miami's scratching and clawing, doing everything they can, which is the next issue. After the game, in the locker room, several Bills players, leaders, offensive leaders, Josh Allen, Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown. I think Daquan Jones said this on the defensive side. Basically said something along the lines of the Dolphins wanted it more or they played harder than us. That is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. Now, you could say, well, that's a coaching issue, and that's fine because it is a coach's job to prepare his team to not do that. And that's Sean McDermott. That's his entire staff. I gave them an arrow down on my arrow up, arrow down column for this very reason. I also tell you, I get it. Just from a holistic standpoint, I guess, big picture, it's very, very hard to be at your A game, have your fastball, super energized, ready to go every single week in the NFL for 17 games. Not an excuse. It's hard to do for any team. Look around the league. Every team has lulls in the season. The Bills in Jacksonville several years ago, there was one of the famous ones like that. I think in Houston last year, maybe this year, a couple times now, right? Atlanta, here in Miami. But to me, against that team in that situation, you have Bills Mafia taking over South Florida as always. You have a 2-7 football team who fired their general manager, who just seems like they want to get to the end of the year. You are in a race for your division to keep your championship to, heavy is the hat that wears the crown, but you want to show that it is your crown. And you come out like that, and you have players saying after a game, they wanted it more. They played harder than us. That's unacceptable. I know that a lot of you are listening right now. A lot of you are watching. You're like, okay, that's it. Fire McDermott, fire Bean. That's not happening right now. That's not happening. You can talk about that all you want. You can want that to happen all you want. There is still a season to play. They're still in a playoff spot. They're going to play out this season. We don't know how that's going to end. It could end out of the playoffs. I doubt that. It could end with a pretty early exit. Maybe no home playoff games. Then we're having serious discussions. It could end in the AFC Championship game or even in San Francisco. There's still a lot to be played here. So it's not, you can't just, they're not going to fire the head coach. They're not going to fire the general manager, not here after week 10 of the 2025 season after everything that they've been through and had success with. Could Sean McDermott make another change on staff? Sure, that could happen. He did it in November a few years ago with Dorsey at offensive coordinator. I'm not suggesting I know anything or it's going to happen. I just always remember that and keep that possibility open and say, could that be possible? Sure, because we've seen that happen before. We've also seen this year, just a few weeks ago, Sean McDermott basically take over play calling duty on defense, right? He's made these changes. So there could be a major change or shift in something that winds up happening. Things like that happen as the season goes on. The injury issue is popping up. They have way too many. Sean said it's on his radar, the soft tissue injuries. They made a change in the strength and conditioning coach at the end of last year. It doesn't have to be on the strength and conditioning coach. You could do everything in the world, have all the right plan, but it doesn't go right. But it is something you have to look at, right? And why is that happening? Defensively, I do like where the secondary is right now a lot more. Although Max Hairston, tough one against Jalen Waddle. Got beat deep, got beat again later in the game. Did have an interception. Cole Bishop, another interception. Landon Jackson, you were expecting him to have an opportunity to make a contribution here. Gets hurt early on. Knee injury, not looking good. And speaking of Jalen Waddle, let's address what happened on Sunday. Wake up in the morning, getting ready for the game. Tom Pelissero has a report from NFL Network. The Bills were the highest bidder for Jalen Waddle, wide receiver, New England. They offered a first-round pick in 2027 and a third in 2026. I believe that's it. I could have the exact details not right, but the key is the 27 first-rounder because apparently was that the Dolphins would have done it if it was a 2026 first-rounder, but Brandon Beane said no. And I'm right with a lot of you say, why though? If you thought that you needed that massive of an upgrade right now for this team, then I think you do that. If that's what it takes. If you're taking that big of a swing and that's all that's holding you back, to me, that's what you do. And it's a lot. Could it be possible that there was a deal agreed to in principle before Chris Greer was fired, the GM of the Dolphins, and maybe that's why he was fired? Yes. And I say that up. I only bring that possibility up because when we heard from Brandon Beane last Wednesday, the day after the trade deadline, he was very upset and frustrated and even said, if I was a betting man and went to Vegas, I would have lost money on us making a deal. He's basically telling you, I thought the guy in charge of this was saying we were going to make a deal. I would have bet on it, but we didn't make the deal. That tells me something was agreed to somewhere. Dolphins, Jets, I don't know, Quinn Williams, we hear about that rumor as well. The Bills went after him. Didn't seem like they were necessarily close on that. It just so happened the two teams who were the biggest sellers, it felt like, in the NFL were the two teams in your division, or two of the teams in your division, and that wasn't going to happen, right? They're not trading you those guys. But maybe the Dolphins would have if you give them the 2026 first rounder instead of 2027 first rounder for Jalen Waddle. Now, maybe the Dolphins just said, nah, we can't do that. First act as a, what's his, Champ Kelly, I think his name, not Chip, Champ Kelly, right? Is that his name? The interim GM of the Dolphins, I believe. Like, he gets the job. It could also be possible, like, he gets this job. He's like, dude, my first act as, like, interim GM is not going to be to trade Jalen freaking Waddle to the Buffalo Bills in our division, a team that's owned us. Like, I get that from that standpoint and from their standpoint, right? That could have been it as well. So it's tough. It's tough to make those deals. But to come away empty-handed, it's tough and it's rough. And you go back to what this team has and what they don't have and what they need. And it's not coming anytime soon. So they have to make do with what they have. What they have is still a good team. They still have a good roster. They're going to have to grind their way out. Injuries on defense and personnel and figuring out on offense. And now you get the Buccaneers on tap. And the Bucs lose at home to the New England Patriots, which means not only the Bills need to beat the Patriots when they play them, but they need to kind of win pretty much out maybe and finish a game clear of the Patriots, because this loss against the Dolphins goes to division record, and that's a early tiebreaker, obviously. So yeah, they have a very tough road ahead. We'll see what they can do with it. Okay. Thanks a lot for joining me. Thanks a lot to my producer, Mike Rabier. I will be on WGR at 10 a.m. if you hear this anytime before that, but might be a little tight turnaround for you. In the meantime, stay with us throughout the rest of the week. Matt will be back. And do not forget, folks, do not forget, Matt and I are going to be doing this podcast live at Batavia Downs a week from Tuesday, November 18th, like 6:30 p.m. Come on by. We're going to have a good time. Got some giveaways. It's going to be a really fun time out at Batavia Downs. And hopefully we'll be talking about a big victory over the Buccaneers with a quick turnaround 2 days later after that podcast in Houston on a Thursday night against the Texans. Okay, so don't forget about that. Follow me at Sal Sports. Follow Matt at Matt_Bove as well. Thanks a lot again. We'll talk to you next time. It's always game day in Buffalo.